13 years you kept us waiting, James Cameron. 13 years for Avatar 2, The Weight of Water. This is my spoiler-free review, guys. Welcome back to my channel. Let's hop right into this. Let's go. Avatar, The Weight of Water follows James Sully and Ney'tiri and their family on their journey as they must leave their homeland as an ancient threat. The Sky People return to Pandora. This film is an emotional story about families sticking together and doing what they must for survival. This film is very similar to the first film. It does rely a lot on the nostalgia card, but it does so in a refreshing way. But you do feel the parallels. The visuals were gorgeous. The CGI in this film was outstanding. I mean, the director clearly took a long time to make this film, so you'd expect it to look on point. I'm not going to say the CGI was perfect, because it wasn't. But bear in mind, for a 3-hour and 12-minute film, which might I add is almost entirely CGI. The shots in the air, the CGI is so crisp. It's mainly when you go underwater that the CGI looks a bit cartoonish. Perhaps not really cartoony, more like video game cutscenes. And the world building in this film, superb. We were introduced to new locations within Pandora, a lot of water biomes, and we get to meet a new type of Na'vi. They have slightly different features. Their skin tone is, well, it's less like my hoodie, and it's more like a aquatic teal. And they have thicker tails and thicker forearms to help swim, which isn't just there for the aesthetics. You can see it being used in the story, and it does have its advantages, because it makes them unique. How the different versions of the Na'vi have different physical attributes which allow them to perform different skills based on the biome and the geographical location they live in. So I can't wait to see what other kinds of Na'vi we'll be introduced to in the future films. I like how James Cameron has developed his world into more depth, and we get to learn different cultures. And similarly to the first film, the way Jake Sully must learn the way of the forest Na'vi, he must now, along with his family, learn the way of water. It feels quite fun going back on that journey again of rediscovering Pandora and learning about it, just like we got to in the first film. That's where the nostalgia really pays off. Where it doesn't pay off, on the other hand, though, is when the map of events just feels copied and pasted, and you're like, okay, this again. Oh, okay, they've done that again. Okay, you've done this again. And I knew you were going to do that. It became predictable. So that would be like my main drawback with the film. And one of the best bits about this movie is seeing the majority of the original cast reprising their roles. This one really does pick up where the previous film left off. And in addition to the original cast, we've been introduced to new characters. And these are primarily the aquatic Na'vi, as well as Jake Sully and Ney'tiri's own family, their children, and a few other members here and there, sideline characters. But one thing I feel this film fails to achieve is establishing that emotional connection with all of the new characters. Now, you definitely feel that emotional connection with Jake and Ney'tiri and some of their children, but you don't always feel the emotional connection that the film wants you to feel. And some things do play out, which is based upon the expectation that you will have a emotional connection and reaction to. And I didn't actually think they would do something like that, if you know what I mean. But for me, I couldn't empathise with that character, perhaps due to a lack of screen time. And yeah, some connections just weren't there. But where it does deliver, it delivers. It tugs on those emotional moments. You feel it, especially with the wildlife. Yeah, the wildlife in this film was very prominent, just as it was in the first film. And another thing I love about this movie is it doesn't feel like your typical studio cash grab. It's not like saying Avatar 1 grossed over 2 billion. We're going to make a second one, and then a third one, then a fourth, and then a fifth. Nah, this wasn't like that. You can tell by just simply the amount of time he invested in making this movie. This is literally a passion project, something he wants to do. And you can see that translate from his brain to the big screen. Now, from the early moments of the film, the story it felt like it was going to set up wasn't the story we got. The film starts off setting up one thing, and then you think it's going to go that way, then it's like, oh, now we're going this way now. Which, I mean, the direction they took, is a direct continuation from the first film. This film felt very much like Jake Sully's side quest rather than like the actual stakes of Pandora being endangered, which still made for a very compelling story. It was superb, but I was expecting for like a larger, grander story. It wasn't the story I thought we were going to get. So now in regards to the runtime, 3 hours and 12 minutes. That's a pretty long time, right? Now you'd expect that to drag, but it didn't. It actually went at a pretty good pace. But there were times, a few times, when it did drag. And that is simply because it was trying to pay off for the fact it took 13 years to make. It essentially gives us a wonderful display of all the technical work that's gone into this film. Basically, you just get beautiful shots one after another, and it's just a display of how great CGI has evolved over time. Even the cameras that James Cameron had to develop exclusively for this film for him to be able to shoot the majority of it underwater. So we just get these long sequences of just gorgeous shots or exploring these unique places which don't add much to the story. They're just there for visual aesthetic, eye candy, fan service. Now I appreciate that, I thought that was great, but at least 20 minutes you could have cut out of this film and you can still retain a lot of the gorgeous aspects that are a clear demonstration of why this film took the length of time it took to make. Now here's an interesting fact about Zoe Saldana, who plays Ney'tiri, as well as, funny enough, Gamora from Avengers. She's the only actor in history to be in 4 films that have all grossed over $2 billion. You heard that right. Avatar, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and now Avatar The Way of Water. That is outstanding. So hats off to Zoe Saldana for landing these massive roles. I mean, I'm sure she got like a pretty damn good paycheck for that as well. Which if you don't mind swinging some of that my way, I'd be pretty pleased with that. But yeah, I'm just saying, imagine Kevin Feige saying like, Gamora's coming back after like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Yeah, we're bringing her back for all the Avengers movies because they want them all to gross over 2 billion. And James Cameron's going to be like, well, hey, Ney'tiri is here to stay. So the future Avatar movies are going to keep grossing over 2 billion. And all I'm just going to say is for Zoe Saldana, that is hell of a flex. So, nice. So, to wrap up this video, guys, Avatar 2, The Way of Water, loved it. It's an extraordinary sequel to the 2009 smash hit film, Avatar. It really delivers on its visuals, which is what James Cameron waited this long to nail down on. So yeah, a lot of respect goes to everyone involved because James Cameron can't take all the credit. He's the visionary, but it takes everyone to execute it, alright? Like, it doesn't take one man to sail a ship, it takes a whole crew. Everyone should be proud. Brilliant movie, and guys, if you haven't seen it already, go and check it out. And let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. So this is it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, comment down below, share with your friends and family, and of course, subscribe. And until next time, people, safe.